Greetings, friends, and welcome to Thursdays in Black and my daily reflection. Sorry I missed yesterday, but the afternoon went off the rails. So welcome back to my reflection on us turning 40 years old during this time of quarantine. Here are a few more stories that I've heard of those early years. Before this building was built, Vacation Bible School took place in a neighborhood park. I only know that sketchy bit of detail. I don't know which park was selected. I wonder if it was the Fairmont Beelard Park. That's the one on Beelard Road, just as it makes the turn to head toward Marshall, near the apartment complexes. Or did the VBS team use the open space that was reserved for the church building site? Questions. No answers, just questions. And recognizing that VBS was held outside. Imagining all those kids gathering each day of the week to enjoy worship outside, gathering in smaller groups for learning times. I hope the weather was pleasant and not the heat that we seem to get every year when VBS rolls around for us here. Thank God for air conditioning now. Perhaps it was a simpler time enjoyed by all of the students and teachers and staff. Did you also know that Harvest Fest started out as Oktoberfest? While the intent, I think, was the same, raising money for the VBS program, and the menu has been consistent through all these years, good German food, the name changed. Why? There are pictures of those early revelers in outstanding German clothing, but why have they changed the name over all these years? If you know it, please let me know. I would love to go back to having an Oktoberfest here in Vacaville. During Pastor T's closing years, the building that we love and now miss was built by volunteer hands. The groundbreaking was held on a cold and rainy February 6th, 1983. Now, when I was first here, there was a monthly men's breakfast that gathered on a Saturday morning at Burger City. And during those gatherings, I learned that the breakfast had its roots back in 1983, when the building was being constructed. The men would gather for breakfast at Burger City and prayer, and then head up the hill to work at the site. My favorite story about that construction time is that as the wallboard was being hung on the 2x4 studs, some of the workers, and I understand that there were both men and women at that time working on the project, took the time to write special messages on the wooden studs or on the back side of some of the wallboard. There is actually even a picture on display that shows something that looks like writing. If the rumors are also true, there might be some real treasures between the wallboard and studs. And since I don't smell anything, I'm assuming that the beer cans, if they really are there, were washed and cleaned very carefully. The preschool is now also celebrating about 35 years, and it came into existence when Barbara Jones, the founder, and Pastor T had long conversations about a preschool being on this side of town. I wonder if those conversations actually took place before 1983, and was the designer of the building aware of what possible uses there were going to be for the facility? Did they have it in mind? Did the big room, was it always designed as a possible classroom space? Over the years, that preschool has grown in numbers and in space. Barbara received a grant from the state of California to provide childcare. Now, since this was a state money and state-supported activity, there needed to be a separation between the preschool and the early learning center, as it was called. So the portable was brought in. When the grant money ended 2 years later, there was an accounting due, and that created some major changes. Barbara decided to retire, and Kathy Webb became the director. And the church bought the building. I hear the purchase was a major discussion and that there were strong opinions voiced on both sides of that conversation. When I arrived, our building configuration was rather different from what we see today. The pastor's office has now become Rob's office. The church office was that small room on the right-hand side of the hallway as you walk in. It's where the copier now sits. Joan Strader, when I was first here, used to sit at a desk in there, and it was always warm because the copier ran 24/7. The church office now was a classroom. There was 2 rooms. The center divider wasn't there, and a classroom existed. My office was also a classroom for young kids. And the big room was a classroom, as well as what is now called the youth center. The youth center also has an office in the back where Kathy held court. Now, I'd also like to give a shout out to some of the charter members who are still here actively involved in our ministry. In alphabetical order, please hear this: Joanne Akers, Christine Akers-Swetlin, Chris Curtis, Elsie Jacobson, Ari Cross, Claire Roberts, Jeannie Myers, Marilyn Weaver, and Howard Williams. Carmen Stitt was also a charter member. You may remember that Carmen died about a month ago. So you probably recognize a number of those names from various places. They're still around. 40 years of service to this congregation. Thank you for what you've done. Remind you that this Sunday we'll celebrate our founding during the worship service. So please tune in and join us for this momentous day. You are all invited, even if the t-shirt says, "The year I turned 40," and no one was invited. You are invited, no matter where you are. And I do look forward to seeing your faces here in worship, but also your names popping up as you tune in for our worship services on Facebook. And also remember, wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, love one another, practice that important social distancing, and of course, as Sergeant Esther House reminds us on leaving for patrol, be careful out there.